Hello, everyone, and welcome back to KickSaga. This is the series where I interview board game creators before and after they launch on Kickstarter to see what they're doing to prepare and to see how things went afterwards. And I'm real excited to bring back on Mathue Ryann onto the show to talk about how things went with his games, his tiny game series of Sirens, Defrag, and 16 Candies. It funded successfully, so we're going to take a look at what he did and how it went and some of the lessons he's learned. So how you feeling today, Mathue?
Yeah, I feel good. Thanks for having me back on. Happy to discuss and go over post-campaign stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's don't hear enough about that out there these days, I think, and it's good to kind of dig into lessons learned and what went well and what didn't go well, so others can learn from that. But it seems like a lot of things went well for you. So congrats, first of all, on overfunding
Thank you.
the campaign. It
Thanks.
seemed to go pretty well for you. So let's go and kind of start with the day you launched. Kind of go back to that when you hit the launch button and kind of how things progressed during that first day, and kind of just walk us through that first day of what you can remember, at least.
Yeah, sure. So I made sure to go to the gym and work out and do like a normal day, not get too crazy. And then I did some preparation before, like where I'm going to post on different Facebook groups or, my own social media accounts, prepared some stuff like that. And then when I clicked the launch button, we had a lot of support. We had a really strong start.
Nice.
A lot of backers came out the first day. We actually didn't hit our funding goal. I think it might have been like at the beginning of the third day of the campaign or the end of the second or something like that. But the first the first day was the best, obviously. Then the second day was the second best. And then I think the third day was, I think one of the days at the end of the campaign was better than the third day. But it was like those first 5 days. And then the last 3 days is where we saw our biggest support come in.
Nice. So what kind of stuff? So you said you had like your bunch of things ready to post and stuff like that. What was your thought process on getting those initial things ready, and what were you trying to do, and what did you do with those?
Yeah, I mean, I just prepared a lot of social media posts for the most part. Like, I, different Facebook groups that I like to post in. So I don't want to spam every Facebook group with the same exact thing at the same exact time, kind of situation. So I would write up or prepare maybe 1 or 2, 3 that I would post, some on the first day, some on like day 2 or 3, and in different groups as well. Like there's some groups I'm more active than others. So I feel a bit more comfortable in posting in some of those than others. So, I usually start with those. I hit up the Board Game Design Lab, which I'm sure a lot of people that listen to this channel were, maybe they saw it, but that's a great place to put it. It's peers, so it's, it's not exactly like the customer base you're trying to get, but it's like they can be supportive still or give feedback and stuff like that, and still back as well. I actually wrote up some Q&A stuff because you can put a Q&A section on your Kickstarter page once it launches. After I did it, I actually decided I wasn't going to post it, just because I'm still a pretty small publisher. I'm an indie publisher, and I just figured it would be better to have people ask comments or post comments in the Kickstarter so I could respond. Other people could see it as well. Maybe it helps the algorithm where Kickstarter sees that there's interactions happening on the page.
Totally.
So that, because the same question got answered a handful of times, but I just answered them and didn't do that. I had my email blast already set up prior days where it was timed for a scheduled release, like as the Kickstarter launched. And then I actually have a follow-up email that gets sent out the next day for anyone that didn't open that email. So it's a great way to continue to send out solicitations, but you don't want to keep spamming the same person. They're like, I already backed this. Why are you emailing me again? Kind of situation. So I had that set up, and then different initiatives with content creators where they launched it and went live the day of the launch and things like that. So the first, confirming that those were right, or even some last minute like adding to the page and stuff like that. Those were all things I did on the launch day.
Cool. That's a great kind of checklist for folks to go through on their campaigns as well. I think that's pretty ingenious that you decided not to do the frequently asked questions, and instead that would encourage people to ask questions in the comments. I can see that being a double-edged sword if there are people who maybe just aren't comfortable asking questions in a public forum and would just want to see it answered on its own.
Yeah.
But I think probably the benefit of encouraging people to interact with your campaign on the comments section would make up for any kind of,
Yeah.
anything like
I mean, that was my thought behind
yeah.
it. Is it right or wrong? I don't
Who
know.
knows?
It's what I decided to do. There's no one right formula for everyone. And then if I ever become like a big publisher, I'll definitely have a Q&A section, but for now where I'm little and I can interact with every single person directly, I'm going to take the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's super important. I think that's great.
I respond to every comment on the page or update, always messages, every single comment I'll respond to.
Great. Yeah, that's perfect. I think that's a great way to encourage interaction for people to get to know you. And then just like the frequently asked questions page, people will go to the comments page and scan to see if the question that they have has been asked before. So it kind of acts the same way as the other page. So I think that's really cool. So, after the first few days you fund, and then, people talk about the mid-campaign slump. How did that feel for you? And what were some things you did during that mid-campaign slump to keep interest going?
Yeah, it's, that's a happens to everyone, right? And I need to do things to be better at that. But running a campaign is just such a roller coaster of emotions. I actually posted a video on my TikTok kind of talking about that a little bit to other self-inspiring self-designers or self-publishers, indie publishers. Like, it's natural to feel ups and downs during your campaign. Like, you see some canceled pledges come in, you're like, oh, it like feels like you're getting stabbed in the heart. Yeah. But you have to just remember it's just kind of what it is. I did something I have never done before this campaign where about midway through, I reached out to every single person that canceled their pledge in a really like, I don't want to be like invasive or anything. I was kind of like, hey, I'm purely reaching out to kind of see like why you canceled your pledge. There's no pressure here. I don't want you to feel bad about it. I'm completely okay with it. I'm just wondering if there's something I can do better about my campaign, or was there not value there for you, or like what was the missing thing, or what led to this? And 95% of the feedback was, I'm having some financial hardships right now. Like my tires, I need to replace my tires, or my hot water heater, like things like real human issues. And things are tough right now for a lot of people. I totally understand it, totally like empathize with that and feel bad for them. And that's what I was trying. It was more about trying to figure out what was going on. Is there something I could do better? Right. There was a few that said shipping, which is always going to be the case no matter what you do. I'm always searching for ways to make shipping more affordable. So hopefully on the next campaigns, I have some better options as well, although pretty happy with what I was able to present. But yeah, I mean, it was like, I think I need to do better at having content released throughout the campaign. Like this content creator posts something or live. And I did one live stream where we played all the games. I went to actually World Series of Board Gaming, and I had a vendor booth where I was hoping that would gain some traction. But while I love the World Series of Board Gaming, there's really no point to vend it. Everyone's too focused on winning and playing the games. I maybe had like 30 people come up to my booth the entire course of like a 5-day, span. So yeah. So I've had success at conventions before while I have Kickstarter campaigns, and it's not huge because a lot of times people want a product now, but I think that's a way to try and get a little bit more traffic or flow, interact with people, be there, show them the game. That just wasn't a great one for that. Yep. But again, I still love that convention. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of content creators there. Everyone that's there is very cool. Nice. But yeah, those were a few things I tried to implement and do, and some running different ads, stuff like that as well. So
cool. Did you have to change anything or adjust anything during the campaign based on like people's feedback or questions or anything like that?
On the campaign page itself, I think I did a good job showing things. I did have a good friend of mine, Ori Kagan, who most people probably know as well. He has some really helpful how to use Blender guides, and he does a lot of the Kickstarter videos for publishers.
Yep.
But he has a small series where he critiques Kickstarter pages, and he went through and it was I'm probably the only person who watched it. I don't know, maybe there's a few others, but for me, I was like glued to my seat watching it. And he brought up some really amazing points about it. And I did change a few things that I could change, like the subtitles or certain text things, which I was really appreciative. And that was a great source, and I thanked him for it. And I was like, this was awesome. I actually reached out to a few other content creators that I kind of hold in higher regards, just because I like their viewpoints, and they not afraid to talk about things where they would like privately, like, hey, can you give me some critical feedback on like, what can I do to make this better? I'm always looking to make, the campaigns better. So I'm always reaching out to people to see what their thoughts might be and stuff like that. But that was something that was really cool that Ori did. And it wasn't, I asked him or anything, he just did it kind of thing. So that was really cool.
Nice.
But yeah, as far as changing stuff on the page, not really. I was working with Gelop on this, and our marketing push, I worked with a few marketers. It was just during the live campaign, I worked with Gelop. And in the beginning, we have a certain ROI you're trying to make, or ROAS, return on ad spend. And we weren't hitting it. So I let it run for a day. We tried to tinker some stuff and just weren't getting there. So I was like, and they spend a lot, because the first few days are really important.
Right.
And I was like, yo, cut it. It's just not the project where it's doing what it needs to do. And I think a large part of that is the tiers that people can back are pretty low compared to most campaigns. Like, I was actually in Backer Kit today looking at my previous campaigns, and it was showing me like average backer level. And this is by far my most funded campaign and most backed by per person. And its average pledge was significantly lower than my previous three. So kind of went into that knowing that was going to be an obstacle. And I think that's a reason that the ad spend with Gelop didn't convert as well, to be honest. It's hard to make that ad spend back when people can pledge at $15,
Totally. So what would you say is both sides of the coin? What would you say are things that you think worked really well and contributed to the success of the campaign, maybe even more than you expected, versus things that that didn't work so well or you thought might contribute to the success and didn't? You've already mentioned a couple, like the Facebook ads. The price point of the game might not be the best fit for running Facebook ads. And then the World Series of Board Game Convention might not be the best, place as a vendor. Any other examples like that where either it didn't work as well as you thought or it worked better than you thought?
Yeah. So I think two of the things where I feel like maybe three things that I thought I had a lot of success post-camp or pre-campaign was I worked with Dina Setso Studios for marketing as well. And I think that their marketing, their Facebook ads marketing running up to the Kickstarter campaign and getting people interested in it and joining the email list, I think they did a really good job with that.
Nice.
It was really nice to work with them in that capacity. And then I have two more conventions this year, BGG Con and PAX Unplugged. And I think that makes 11 total conventions for the year. Going to conventions and showing the games and building organic and in-person relationships with, industry peers and also just customers or people that are board game enthusiasts helped a lot spread my network and who I was and have people join the email list that way. Again, there's finances that go into that as well, depending if you're vending it or what you're doing. And I kind of went into those situations knowing it was kind of be probably a loss on my return on investment because I don't have product to really sell yet. But it's everything I do is like long-term play, so I'm okay with that. And I understand that going into certain things. Now, next year, I'm planning out my conventions and I'm expecting a return on the investment to be positive because I have SKUs to sell now. And I've spent a year networking and meeting people. So I think that was something that went really well. And then another thing was just myself personally organically posting on like my TikTok account and building friendships and relationships through that, and posting funny videos, to the Facebook Reels and Instagram Reels and everywhere that I could.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I just make stuff on TikTok and recycle it to the other platforms. And it still goes well. But I think that, and I post again on the places I have fun and enjoy. And I think that's been a great thing for me as well. Some of the things I think that went poorly for the campaign, I think I would probably restructure my campaign tiers.
Mm.
Because if you look at the campaign, there's a clear favorite in the games. And I think that I think that's not a great. I don't like how that looks to people when they come to the page and then they see one that's favored over the others.
Yeah.
So I'd likely do one single tier for back one game, pick it in the pledge manager kind of situation.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I think that would help visually and just mentally, I guess, when people are seeing subconscious kind of thing. So I would change that. There's a few, and I'm not trying to knock any content creators, but there's a few that I worked with that had, ad spends that they're really, and it's really hard for a lot of them to get back the, how much money was spent on their video if they're paid versus a free content creator. But there was some that I think I went a little overboard on potentially, that I might reevaluate how many content creators I work for preview content on my next campaigns.
How many did you work with, would you estimate?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, and I'm still forwarding them around as well. Yeah. And again, some are paid and some aren't.
Okay.
And these were little games, so it's cheaper to send them around, but it all affects that bottom line of your marketing spend and stuff like that. Yeah. Just because it's like, I don't know. It's a fine line. There's definitely a lot of value with working with content creators. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to knock anyone. Sure. I just would probably pull back a little bit on how much money I spent working with certain content creators.
Yep.
Or overall,
yeah.
Just because I got a little ambitious and overzealous.
I can see there's like, after a while, there's diminishing returns because they probably share, a lot of the same audience, and eventually it's just going to be the same also, people.
It's this, some of them will do like their final thoughts and stuff like that, but a lot of times it's just a preview because it's not a live game, so it's not a review, which is different than a preview, and it's just like, this is how the game works, and then the next one's like, this is how the game works, So you're like, but you're hitting, I know they have different audiences too. There's some overlap as well, but I would probably just overall pull back a little bit on that.
Makes sense.
And trying to think of some other stuff that I felt like could be improved upon, or I think, again, like I said, having content released, I did a really strong push day one. There was a few things that happened afterwards, but nothing really of significance after that. So probably try and spread that out a little bit more even might be nice. Yep. But yeah, those are a few things that come to mind.
And if I remember correctly, you didn't have like any stretch goals or anything, right?
Yeah. So I didn't have stretch goals. Main reason being it's really hard to fit extra stuff into these boxes, but I do have, the current series has trays that hold everything, and which really limits the components that you can put into it as well. So I think on future games, because I have been getting pitched a lot of tiny games, I'll probably get rid of the plastic tray just so we can fit more components and stuff like that. And that also allows us to potentially add stretch goals. I think I will 100% include a handful of stretch goals on the next tiny game series. I'll just have to plan them out and make sure they can all fit in the box. But I think that would help a good amount as well. I really do. That's one thing I forgot to bring up. So thanks for mentioning that.
Cool. Yeah, that's good to know, because it's hard to say, and it still is kind of like an unsettled thing. Like, do stretch goals help? Do they not? I think it depends on the game. I think if you have a nice deluxe game and you just make it deluxe out of the box, maybe that's good. But if it's something where you could possibly add stretch goals and make it deluxeified or add things to it, that could be something that pushes people to continue to return to the campaign or try to push it forward themselves.
Yeah. share it
Share it
more,
more.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, get people more excited, let you do more updates and stuff. Um, I think I would definitely add them. And I was like on the fence of adding them this whole time, but I was like, I want them to be meaningful as well. I don't want to just have a stretch goal that's just a stretch goal that, was going to happen anyways. A lot
Yep.
of times we were like, you know, uh, we're not going to use 280 GSM thick cards. We're going to up it to 300. I'm like, were you really ever going to use 280? Like, let's be real, kind of
Right.
situation, or whatever. I'm just throwing out random numbers there. I don't know the actual measurements for those off the top of my head, but that's I want them to be meaningful. So I just didn't want to put something in there that I didn't feel genuine about. And just the way these games are structured and everything going on, that's what it was. And we did the add-on, where we have a few things that are just higher component quality that are add-ons for the games that if you do the bundle, you get for free, or you can add them later on. So that was kind of my thought process behind them. And I was kind of modeling what All Play does, if you're familiar with their campaigns.
Right.
So
Yeah, these are about the box sizes of some of what All Play does. So that makes sense that you would look to them to kind of model your campaign.
yeah.
So it seems like this went well enough to that you're, and you mentioned this before, but it sounds like you're definitely all in on the kind of the tiny games series, and this might be something you do in the future. So kind of talk about what your next steps are and how you might approach the next series differently, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So obviously, I have a plan to continue on the series, the Tiny Game series. I actually have a logo that's being finalized to tie everything together that will be on the boxes now, the Tiny Game series, Volume 1, Volume 2 kind of
Nice.
situation. I signed a new game yesterday for the Tiny Game
Oh, cool.
series. This one is actually further along, doesn't require much development. There's still some tinkering we're doing, but I'm going to try a direct to retail release for the first time as something that I have to put forward to the market and, maybe do some kind of nice discount for my email followers and stuff like
Yeah.
that, to keep the market warm and continuing to, be a part of the community in between the next Tiny Game series,
Cool.
and then do another Tiny Game series. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm continuing on. And yeah, so I would probably reach the question was, what would I do differently or what am I going to do? Kind
Yeah,
of,
if you
or
have
sorry.
any ideas of like based on this campaign, how you're going to approach the next one differently or what you're going to do with it.
Yeah, so I'd probably restructure the kick funding tier goals a little, or tiers that people could back at a little bit differently. My marketing campaign, I'll probably try and do an even longer email build up to the launch versus what I did this time. I will. Some of the games I'm being pitched, obviously, there's a lot of things I'm looking at. Originally, I wanted like, oh, there's got to be something unique about each game,
Mhm.
which is kind of hard to do because
Yeah.
the one has the musical element, which is really cool. Defrag has the scenario manual and the throwback theme, and 16 Candies Are Eating Candy. But I think it's not going to be something I try and force into games I want to work with or that I think have merit and worth being published. And
If you're going to have this be a series, then maybe it's the opposite. Each series that you release has kind of a through connection or something that makes them similar. That could be a cool
yeah,
thing to explore.
yeah, there's a lot to do,
Yeah.
but I'm just gonna keep on keeping on. I might add some like I really want to try and cater to my email list a little bit and add things of value to them versus just like be here and wait for me to solicit you for money.
Yeah.
Like I want to have actual like real value that they can get for being there, like
Right.
extra promo cards specifically because you're on this list, or free enamel pins with your orders because you're on this list, or a secret discount.
Yeah.
Like we're going to take $2 off your pledge in the pledge manager, but we can't say that publicly because Kickstarter has TOS. Like you can't run giveaways and stuff like that. But I want to have things of real value. So I'm going to try and focus on catering to the and fostering like a more community and more value with the email list for future campaigns, because I think that'll just help everything overall.
Yeah, that's really smart. I think the email list is kind of your best. That's a collection of your best fans, right? The people who actually went through the process of giving you that email address that, people get spammed a lot in their email. And so they don't do that lightly.
Well,
And those people are
you'd be
going to be,
surprised how many unsubscribe as well when you send an email.
yeah,
And it's not like during a launch, obviously I'm sending more than I normally would, but it's kind of surprising how many you see unsubscribe and you're like, oof, okay. Well, if they don't want to be there, I don't want them there
right.
either. But I want them to be there, and I want to actually give them true value for being there. So that's something that I'm looking into and going to try and do a better job at moving forward.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, I look forward to, circling back with you on your next campaign and seeing how you're going to approach that one and how it's going to be a little bit different and stuff like that. But for now, any kind of parting words of wisdom or anything you want to leave folks with, especially those who are thinking about, crowdfunding their game for the first time? What are some things they should be thinking about and preparing before they do so?
I think a few things just to consider or be mindful of, like I kind of mentioned this earlier, but the Kickstarter, the whole thing of running a campaign is a roller coaster of emotions. It's normal to have up and down days. I certainly did. I would say staying consistent and like working hard at what you're doing is important. This is my 4th Kickstarter launch for my company, MV Board Games. And this one is the most funded campaign I've ever run. And it's also, if you combine all the backers from my last 3 campaigns, I have more on this campaign than the last 3 combined. Nice. And I think a large part of that is just staying consistent, continuing to do stuff, continuing to work. So it's not like, it's not like there's sometimes where you have these evergreen monster hits where you find success overnight. But I think a lot of times you have to kind of work into it and learn and grow into stuff as well. So if you feel like maybe your campaign didn't do as well as you thought it would do, like don't let that get you down or stop you from continuing on. Obviously, the finances have to make sense and stuff, but don't let it stop you. It's like a growing process. I'm hoping my next campaign I do even better, but we'll see what happens with that. And then, there was something else I wanted to say and I forget. Shoot. Oh well.
I think that's plenty.
Maybe I'll leave a comment on a video or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's perfect advice because it's, hopefully people are in this for the long haul, and it's even the big names botch Kickstarters. We see that all the time where it's not as successful, or they don't do it right, and then they end up canceling, or it just doesn't fund as well as they wanted to. So this is something that everyone's always learning and always experimenting and stuff like that. So like you said, if your first campaign doesn't knock it out of the park, learn from it and do it better next time. And that's great advice for life in general. Cool. So if folks want to, late pledge for this or check out your future releases, where can they go?
So the late pledge, if you go to the Kickstarter campaign still, there's a link that'll take you to the Backer Kit late pledge. I think if you go to Backer Kit and search Tiny Game Series, that'll come up as well. And then I also have my website, mvborngames.com, where I'll be adding these eventually and a lot of other stuff as well. So
excellent. And get on that mailing list so you can get some of these exclusives or whatever, fun stuff you're planning.
Oh yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for taking the time to circle back with me and share your experience with the listeners here, and all the best in your future endeavors, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Talk to you later.
And thanks, guys, for watching this episode of KickSaga. If you want to hear from other board game creators about their experiences launching on Kickstarter, go ahead and click that subscribe button and then click that bell notification so you can get notified every time we release a new video. Until next time, take care. Bye.